Let's take you to Lake Mead right now. It's World Water Day, a day to raise awareness and encourage change when it comes to our water usage. Hard to argue with the water disappearing from Lake Mead in southern Nevada. It's a problem that extends farther back than you might think. In fact, they've lost 130 feet of water since the turn of the century. And how much is that? It's about 43,000 Olympic swimming pools, all right? And if you stretch them all end to end, that extend from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to the Canadian border. Let's bring in now Weather Underground blogger and meteorologist Bob Henson, talk about the alarming rate of water loss in Lake Mead. And we've seen it, Bob. You know, you can see it, the marks on the walls there at the lake, and it's almost depressing when you think about what's going on across the West. What can we do to manage our water resources better? Are we purely at this point at the Mother Nature's just handing it to us at this point, it feels like?
Indeed. It's, it's a classic good news, bad news scenario. Of course, the bad news is that water supplies are pretty low right now. I mean, there have been droughts that have affected Lake Mead in the past, but this is definitely the most sustained drought, and the prognosis, in terms of more people needing more water, is on the grim side. But on the pro side, cities like Las Vegas have done a lot to actually increase the efficiency of how they use water. Pretty much getting rid of green lawns for new homes and such. So there's been a lot of progress in water usage, but that pace of adaptation is going to have to continue.
But Bob, that whole Colorado River Basin is so vitally important to all of our western states. The reservoirs along it, what we use for power generation, what we use for irrigation. What can we do? And climatologically, meteorologically, is anything working for us?
Well, certainly not climatologically and meteorologically. The compacts that dictate where water is allocated in the West, most of those were developed 100 years ago. And there's a lot of evidence that the amount of water that was coming into the system, say in the 1900s, 10s, 20s, is really a lot more than we're getting now. It may have been an unusually wet period, in fact. And what's a little distressing is we can't even really count on El Nino perhaps the way we used to. We're in the midst of this super El Nino, which, gosh, in 1982-83, it looked like Lake Powell was at risk of collapsing at one point because the water inflow was so intense and the water levels. And we're not seeing that this year. It's been extremely dry in the Southwest considering El Nino. So there's just a lot of signals pointing toward drying in the Southwest, and we've just got to use the water we have efficiently. And that includes, agriculture as well as cities. Cities can do a lot, but agriculture is still pretty much the biggest user in many parts of the Southwest.